Yes. Very good. Okay, so I'm just gonna show you something real quick because I've seen a number of ones in the chat to make sure that we've introduced ourselves properly, make sure you even know who's talking to you, why I'm here chatting with you, and sort of why we're even here in the very first place. We've got amazing speakers lined up, but a couple of years ago, okay, if you had met me 2 years ago, I would have told you how Dr. Sarah Chang, for example, got back 170K in tax refunds after working with us, right? That's it right there. You can see the dates on there. I even see Dr. Beauvais here. She worked with us as well. If you, I could also have told you how buying a beautiful lakefront home was your next best step. And we've got a lot of people in our community who may even be on here. If you're a Savvy Doc, alum in the comments here, type a 2 in the chat, let the people know you and see you. Because that was what we were doing. We were buying property. We were buying, lakefront property. That was like my thing. I loved it, still do. I could have told you as well how we went from buying inner city properties, the duplexes, talking about cash on cash return, to generating multiple six figures from just a few houses, okay? I could have told you all of that. But today we're talking about something different, all right? Today we're talking about something even better. Will anybody here acknowledge that if I had told you that I was going to save you 70K in taxes tonight, that would have been a good enough session? Who would have come here tonight to be able to save 70K in taxes? Type a 3 in the chat. Let me know, my people. Type a 3 in the chat. Okay. All right. I'm seeing a couple of you. All right. People are telling the truth right here. There we go. Right. But what I'm about to share with you tonight is even better than saving 70K in taxes. Okay, so here's what I'm going to ask of you. I don't want any of you to miss out on what's going to be happening tonight. So if you have your phone buzzing next to you, throw it across the room, please. If you have, a toddler screaming and holding your legs, go call the daddy or the mommy and tell them, here, keep this child until I'm done. Totally messing with you, but I'm kind of serious here, all right? Because I really don't want any of you to miss out on what we have planned tonight. If we have not met, I am Dr. Chia Gazie Fawale. I am a pediatric anesthesiologist in practice based in upstate New York, and I will be your host for the next 3 days, okay? I love to chat about all things that help doctors and professionals earn meaningful income outside of their chosen careers, okay? We're talking making money outside of medicine, making money outside of your practice, or whatever it is that you do. If you are a physician here, type a 4 in the chat. I want to know who my doctors are. If you're not a physician, type a 5 in the chat. I just want to know who is who in the room. You're all welcome here. I just want to know who we have in the room so that as I talk, I kind of know like who we got in the audience, right? Okay. Now, my story began with flip or flop, right? Over 10 years ago at this point, I was watching TV and I saw these guys make in one flip more than my annual salary. And I said, wait, what? They just made more than my salary in one deal? That was in May. That was in May 2014. Okay. Now I went on to end up doing deals, even though I had no money in my pocket. I happened to have learned strategies from Brandon Turner's book, right? But then the next few years was spent on the real estate track, doing all the real estate stuff, buying a 12-unit apartment complex, buying inner city duplexes, getting featured on Bigger Pockets. And eventually the pandemic hit and there was a problem. Somebody type problem in the chat. Because during the pandemic, I noticed that doctors were getting pay cuts. Okay, healthcare workers were getting pay cuts. There was a ton of uncertainty in the market that made me think, okay, there's a problem, we need a solution. At the time, I had thought that, doing real estate, tenants will always need a place to live. But then I learned that they may need a place to live, but they don't always have to pay. So we did a sharp pivot. Okay, because I realized at the time that my income was at the mercy of my tenants' generosity. Okay, we did a sharp pivot to short-term rentals, hosted conferences, eventually changed our entire investing thesis to now, all the vacation stuff that I just showed you. But something stopped me in my tracks as we were doing all of this. something stopped me in my tracks, and that's why we're here today. And I realized that with one switch in your strategy, type one switch in the chat, type one switch in the chat, okay? That one switch in your strategy can turn the whole side gig run around into meaningful income. We're talking meaningful income. If you are here because you have been doing side gigs for so long and you're tired with the TIYAD, type of, I don't know, 6 in the chat, okay? Type a 6. I want to know who my side gig warriors are. People who have been doing side gigs for so long, right? That people are like, are you even in medicine anymore? Like, what's your actual profession, right? But you don't have enough in the bank to make you retire from your clinical income just yet. Type a 6 in the chat, because let's be real right here. We're not here just for likes and, you know, and Facebook pictures. Okay? I saw with this one switch how you could go from celebrating 30K per year in profit. I did that. Doris did 30K a year in profit. One house did 30K a year in profit, to now talking about people generating 30K in profit in her first month of owning her business, the very person that we'll be talking with this evening. When I met her, that was what attracted me to getting to know her, getting to talk to her, because I was like, did you just say you made what? And how one switch in your strategy can possibly replace your income in one transaction. Okay. Now, I'm not going through this just because I want to talk to you about slides. I want to show you why we're here tonight. Okay. Because some of you may be wondering, what is a doctor doing here talking about all these things? What is a doctor doing here talking about buying a business? If you wonder that, type a 7 in the chat. I got you, boo. I know my people. Okay. I saw something that opened my eyes that I knew there would be at least one person, right? I saw something that opened my eyes that made me say, wait, wait a hot minute. Look at this business. I literally just this afternoon just went on the website and I just like checked, right? Without even screening, I was able to pull up 3 examples of businesses that if you bought them, look at this one right here, that you can buy for $850,000 that will cash flow $300,000. So I am not here for lights. I am here for actual numbers, okay? Look at this one right here that you can buy for 1.5 that will cash flow about half of that, 550. Is there anyone here who, if you could figure out, now let's not even think about how you're going to do this, but if you could figure out how to pull this off and buy this business for a miserly $1.1 million, don't get in the how, and it cash flowed 555. How many of you would have replaced your entire clinical income? Type an 8 in the chat, okay? Type an 8 in the chat if you would have replaced your entire income with some $555,000. All right, I'm seeing the numbers go up here. Okay, all right, I see you. I'm seeing my truth tellers in the chat. Thank you very much. All right, very good. Now, how about this one right here? Just double this number a little bit. And again, you don't know how this is going to happen, right? You don't think about the how, just look at this one. How about this one? That you buy for 2.6 and you cash flow $950,000. Okay? If you didn't answer a yes for the last one, maybe this one.
No one.
Maybe.
They're caroling.
Just maybe.
Going and singing from door to door.
Sydney, I can hear you.
Sorry, watching TV with my daughter too, or keeping her busy.
No problem. All right, I'm going to make sure that everybody's muted. So that was my fault. Let's just make sure mute upon entry. Yeah, they're all muted upon entry. All right, very good. So if you're looking at this screen and you're seeing anything that could potentially replace your income in one transaction, let's come back in here right now and let's type a happy 9 in the chat. Let's just wrap it up with a 9 in the chat, okay? Make sure you're back with me. Make sure you're back with me, not getting distracted, okay? I see just 3 people, 4 or 5. Okay, there we go, okay? Because I'm going to be bringing on an amazing person. Her name is Chelsea Bjarnarson, and I have interviewed her a couple of times. So if you have been on any of these before, you may have seen her because, listen, we're not here to blow smoke up anybody's behind. It's literally what is working, and we don't need to make it up. But her story is so powerful that I'm like, you know what? I'm going to bring her again, okay? Because she was the person whose story inspired me to basically drop everything and start working on getting my acquisition. And I thought, you know what? I might as well bring her on. So Chelsea, thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to add you as a pin. Oh yeah, let me continue and then let me add pin. There we go.
Hey everybody.
Thanks so much for coming on. Now, I'm just going to introduce you a little bit, but then you're still going to tell the people who you are, okay? So I remember very clearly exactly when we met. It was when we attended the in-person event. I believe it was in 2022. I remember that so well because it was on Sunday morning. I mean, I had seen you on the stage. They had brought you up as somebody that had bought a business, having kind of been in the game for about, I don't know, 8 or 9 months at the time. And we happened to have sat next to each other at breakfast on Sunday. And now I didn't tell you this on that day, but I was sitting there thinking, she has one head. Any Nigerians in the audience that would get that reference, okay? She has one head, just one head. She has a business. She has one head. She is like me. We can do this, okay? But that was what sitting next to you did for me that day. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to bring her on. So please tell the people who you are, what you do, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, I'm Chelsea Bjarnarson. I have one head, apparently. I'm not Nigerian, but I'm guessing what that means is you have like a solid head on your shoulders. You're not have many minds. Like
exactly. You're just a normal human being.
Down to earth. Okay. All right. I'm learning here. I'm learning. Stick with me. So yeah, I mean, really what she's saying is true. I had a dream of owning coffee shops or a coffee shop for many years, had a Pinterest board with my daughter, and really it was just kind of a pipe dream. You know, I was working in corporate America, Fortune 50 company, basically starting from the ground level, working my way up into an executive role. So that was really all I knew. Single mom, just had a dream, working hard, trying to work my way up the corporate ladder, and essentially through the grace of God, got this opportunity, was able to actually go out there and approach the owners to see if they would be willing to sell. They were not actually at all willing to sell, which was kind of crazy. This business was not for sale. So if you guys have a business that you're like, man, I love this business, it's possible, right? Like I didn't think that it was, but it is. And through a series of conversations with them, they came to us one day and said, hey, you know what? We're ready to sell. We're going to do it. And we want you guys to be the one to take it on, right? So that was a dream come true, to say the least. It just goes to show you that with a little bit of grit and tenacity and a dream, right, and the ability to bring it to fruition is not beyond you, right? So I'm living proof it can happen. And I grew up in a tiny little town in the middle of nowhere in Wisconsin. My family, you know, they're blue collar workers, right? Like nobody owns a business. I didn't have this grooming. I have had help along the way, right, from other entrepreneurs and through my business partner as well. And I mean, at the end of the day, I just started talking to people who are entrepreneurs. I just set a goal for myself to say, well, how do I actually bring this into reality? I don't know anything about this. So I started actually attending meetings like this, where people are just having conversations about getting into business or different businesses that are available to you. Like I just started somewhere because to be honest with you, you know, you can't go anywhere until you take that first step. When you're first starting, it's very overwhelming because you're like, I don't have the money to do this. I don't know anyone doing it. I don't know the first thing about owning a business, but you put one foot in front of the other and somehow God makes a way, right? If you continue to pursue it and you continue to put yourself out there and have the faith that it will happen and continue to put yourself in circumstances to learn and to grow, through those situations and through the different people that you're meeting. I mean, all of you are doing the right thing just by being on this meeting. And that's not fluff. That's not me blowing smoke. This is literally my story. Okay. I'm not making any of this up. I did exactly what you're doing as a first step. I didn't have any training in this, none, zero. And I didn't have the funds, really, to be honest. Like, I had been saving money for quite some time, but was able to do it through creative financing and was able to keep my corporate job for another couple of years beyond owning the business, which technically I could have continued because, you know, it worked out where we were able to actually hire on the previous owner to manage operations so that I could stay in my job, right? So, like, all those questions of like, how do I make this transition? How do I make this leap? It is absolutely possible. And granted, I was very, very fortunate. I feel very blessed to have the opportunity work out the way that it did. But to be honest with you, I think a lot of that has to do with putting yourself out there, creating the intention, and actually taking the steps forward to do it.
Yeah, yeah. So let me actually rewind for a second. Those of you that are on here, okay, there was something that made you decide that on a Tuesday evening in July in the summer, when it's still light outside for most people, you will be on a call learning about buying a business. What was it? And I really would like everyone to kind of chime in on this one. I want to see in the chat, what is that life goal? What is that life dream that you had that made you say, or you have, that has made you say, you know what, I think I want to buy a business. I think buying a business may be something that I would like to consider, explore, maybe something that could possibly change my life. Type it in the chat. Let me know what that life dream is. Okay, I see diversification. I see financial freedom. Okay, so Uzo CK, you said that financial freedom. If you're gonna say something like that, I would like you to actually now put in the comments what number will make that happen. Okay, I see a really good one here. More control over my time, building wealth. Yep, Jennifer says, hey, Jennifer, the baby boomers are exiting. Exactly, that's great opportunity. Ovia says, I would like a better quality of life. All right, now let's now do the next step, which is to think about a number in your head. What number every month will make that possible for you? Because I don't want people to just leave here with just kind of like a vague thought in their minds. I want you to start to like make it concrete, because as I interview Chelsea right now, and I kind of pull a little more about what she's already given us a nice, beautiful overview about, I'd like you to begin to start to plug numbers into your own dream to kind of see, okay, what could this possibly look like? What could this be? Because by the time you leave, I want you to have something concrete you can actually act on. Okay, so Chelsea, let's kind of back up a little bit. So now you had this dream of buying a coffee shop. It was something that you had on your vision board. It was something that you kind of had considered, that, you know what, I think I'd like to buy a coffee shop. And then, I mean, I know this story because I know I've asked you a few times that you met Mike, Michael Byers, who they will meet tomorrow, by the way. Yep. And he was asking you, you know, kind of talk about how that whole conversation started, so that people can even kind of see how this even just started.
Yeah. So realistically, you know, he was definitely the person who was the catalyst for this for me, in terms of helping me to learn all of the steps that it took to do the acquisition, and actually, you know, coach me through and be a partner in all of those great things. So yeah, I mean, realistically, he was like, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to own coffee shops. Like, well, okay, what else do you want to do? And I was like, well, I want to own coffee shops. You know, I was pretty dead set that that's what I wanted to do. And I'm kind of that way. Once I set to my mind to something, like, I know that I can bring it forth in some capacity. I just have to figure out how. And I think probably if you guys are on this meeting, you're probably very similar in that capacity, that you're high achievers, hold yourself to a certain standard of excellence, and go after whatever it is that you want to go after, right? Those are all characteristics of somebody who could be successful doing this. So you're already, you know, in that bucket by being here. But quite honestly, you know, it was just a matter of, well, you know, what's your favorite coffee shop? You always talk about this coffee shop, you know, that you love. Go see if it's for sale. I was like, well, it's not for sale, you know, but through conversation and through just building relationship and understanding their needs, you know, and what it was that they wanted as well. And also, you know, kind of bringing them in to stay in operations. That was their baby for 20 years, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like sending your kid off to college, right? Without knowing where they're going, right? So like, that's important as you're talking to business owners, you know, and initially the conversations were, we want to sell these mobile units to go do events. And I was like, I don't want anything to do with that, but I would love to buy your 3 coffee shops and the roastery business that you have. And they're like, no, that's, you know, that we're not there. We don't want to do that. But again, through building that relationship and understanding, and building that rapport and just having patience, to be completely honest with you, like I was not in a rush to get the deal done. You know, that wasn't my mindset. It was, I really like these people. I know who they are, you know, I've built a relationship with them and I actually really enjoy my time with them. If the deal happens because of that, fantastic. If it doesn't, that's okay too. I'm still going to continue to pursue this in some capacity. So I did not have that. I didn't bring that energy to any of the meetings, right? And I think that's important, because I think sometimes people get so like locked in, this has to happen at this timeline, it has to happen this way. If I had locked in my exact path of how I thought this was going to go, I probably wouldn't have got the deal done. I'm going to be completely honest with you. So just being open and being free and being willing to learn from somebody else who's been there and done that was huge, right? Because at the end of the day, you know, if you can compress all those years of knowledge, by spending a little bit of money up front or by having that relationship with somebody who's done it, it's huge. It's huge. You know, and not to have to go through those pitfalls of what businesses to buy or not, or what's a good deal or not. You know, I was fortunate to have that help from him.
So you mentioned that the business was not for sale. So when Mike said, you know what, go talk to the people, what did you tell them? Like, how did that conversation go? Like, what, like, hey, I want to buy coffee. Oh, by the way, is your
I literally went with my little dog Cam, and we dropped off handwritten notes at each of the locations, all 3 of them. Okay. By the time they got to the 3rd location, they're like, this girl is serious. She really wants this business. So they picked up the phone and called me. And like I said, I just told them, you know, I don't want the mobile units. I don't want anything to do with those. I want the whole business. And they kind of were like, that's not going to happen, you know. But like I said, through conversations, through just continuing to take them to dinner or have lunch, or I'd, you know, hang out every once in a while. And like I said, I truly, truly appreciated their presence as well. I think that goes a long way. It wasn't like, I'm here just to strictly do business with you, because they're fantastic people. But to be honest, like, it's kind of crazy, because I look back at my camera roll I have since I purchased the business, and I see all the pictures over the years of me holding up my little coffee cup that says La Java, and with my sister and my kids, and never in a million years thinking this is the coffee shop that I'm going to own someday. It never even dawned on me. I wasn't gauging towards it, nothing. When I look back, I'm like, wow, this is crazy. You know, when you talk about being able to actually make it happen. But again, you have to get over the fear. I'm very much somebody who likes certainty. That was a big hurdle for me. It was a really big hurdle for me. But once I jumped off the cliff, it was like, all right, there's no going back. I'm in it, right? Like, I'm in it. And it's been phenomenal. It really has.
At what point did it feel like jumping off the cliff? When you first made the offer, or when you actually sealed the deal?
Oh, I would say from the very beginning. Yeah, even dropping off those cards, because I knew this is going to get a response, and then I have to do something with this, right? Like, whether it's a yes or no. If it's a yes, I know that means I'm going down this road, because I know me. And I don't do anything halfway. So I knew once I put it out there, there was a very big possibility that cliff jumping was happening.
Okay.
So yeah, really, it was nerve-wracking even dropping those notes off initially. Like, I was a little bit scared. Not gonna lie. But we got through it, and here I am.
Hey, you didn't die. Yes.
I didn't die. But it really was huge to have him, like I said, you know, guide me through all of that, and help with the transactions and do all that. It was great. You know, I wouldn't have done it any other way. And like I said, had I tried to write it myself, it never would have gone that way. Just I can say is put yourself out there and, and you don't know
Now,
what can happen.
just to even kind of bring the audience back into this, guys, if you had to dream, okay, there is no imagination police here, okay, or ever. If you had to dream, what kind of business do you think you want to buy? Just throw something out there. Let's just see it in the chat right there. Throw something out. Let's see what kinds of businesses. Ooh, I see med spa iPhone. You can change your name so that we can know who you are. But hey, med spa, I love it. Okay, real estate. Oh, okay, a real estate business. All right, I love it. Okay, a gym. All right, let's see who else. What other kinds of businesses are out there in the room? Anyone looking into? I mean, I don't even know anyone thinking about like, oh, okay, coin laundry, travel, any medical practices. Just saying. In a room full of doctors, I've not seen one medical practice. Just saying. All right, more primary care clinics. I love it. Okay. All right. So Chelsea, though, now, did you have any experience running businesses in the past? Like you were in corporate America, but did you have any
Yeah.
experience with businesses?
I had a lot of operational
You did.
experience.
Okay.
So, call center operations, I've been all over different countries managing and basically coming up with innovative ways to save money, make the process better, consumer experience, but also actually the operations themselves being responsible for that. So
Mhm.
yes, I did have operational background, but that,
Okay.
at the end of the day, all of that can be taught.
Mhm.
A lot of it, as long as you're a really strong leader, a lot
Mhm.
of it kind of comes naturally. And at the end of the day, if you've been in your career in any amount of time and seen how operations run, even internally within your own organization, you
Yep.
can kind of discern from that really what needs to happen. Honestly, your mindset and your work ethic is by far the most important thing. Did it help me? Of course it did. I'm not going to sit here and say it didn't. Gave me a little bit of a leg up, but also if you can do something where you bring in or have the owner on for a certain period of time in your negotiation, that would really be my recommendation, especially if you have no background in it, just to kind of give you that little bit of a safety net to say, hey, I have someone here who's done it, been there, done that, has run it, and when you buy a business that's already in place, for 10 plus years, they're cash flowing, they have marketing in place, employees, right? Like they have a solid track record, somewhere that's strong in the community. Like these are all important things. And it means that the people that you're going to be learning from directly have done a fantastic job with it. So
Yes.
inherently would set you up for success as long as you negotiate that in there.
Now, when it came to so actually on the piece of like your operational experience, you had the operational experience, but you'd never run a coffee shop.
Correct.
Okay.
I knew I like to drink coffee. Does that count?
Now, I'm highlighting that because we hear that a lot from people saying, well, I don't have business experience. And one thing that I like to remind people is, but you run an entire anesthesia board, right? Or you run an entire clinic, or like, you see 20 patients a day. If that's not operational experience and efficiency management, like I don't know what it is, right? Because people tend to like, downplay their skills. So now, guys listening, type in the chat what you do, and then type the skills that you have from that may not be as evident. For example, in my case, I put babies to sleep for breakfast. Okay. Okay. Now, what do I learn from that? It does not make my own baby sleep anyway. Just gonna leave that joke right there. Anyway, back to you, Chelsea. Now, when it came to financing the business, how did you get in the conversation? Because if I remember properly, you ended up doing this deal with barely any cash out of pocket. Is that? Can you talk a little bit about how the financing part kind of went through?
Yeah. Can't talk about specific numbers,
Yeah.
but I will explain the process to you. So essentially, I think a lot of business owners are open to it once we have the conversation. Basically it was seller financing is what it was.
Okay.
So essentially, you're using the revenue of the business to pay back to pay the business owner for the business, right? So it is technically a loan from the business owner, and there is a very small percent that, you know, typically will be negotiated in there, but it's very small in comparison to going through a bank. And two, the beauty of it is that you're really not coming out of your pocket. You're using the profitability of the business to actually pay down the note at a certain amount that is still able to continue to cash flow for you, right? So like you wouldn't want to go in there and say, well, 100% of the revenue that I'm getting every month, I'll just pay you that, because you have nothing to run the business with, right? You have to do debt service and look at that and say, you know, how much can I afford to pay you in over how many years, right? Just like you would with a bank. But I think the conversation is a little bit more fluid because it's a deal between you and the owner, right?
Yeah.
And you know how much that business is cash flowing every month because you get to see historical data in terms of how they're performing. And that's the beauty of not starting your own business and buying a business and acquiring a business that's already operational and successful, is because you get to look at the data. You have the whole, and you get the whole playbook, right? So you know there is, I'm not going to say there's no risk, because there's always a risk in anything, but there's also a risk in not doing anything in life, right? If you don't take the step to do this, what is the risk of that, right? And maybe it's I don't fulfill my dreams. Maybe it's I missed out on a significant income that could have retired me or been life-changing for my family, right? So there's a risk in anything, but I would say the way that I did it and the way I was coached to do it was minimal risk in comparison to what it could be going into a business. And again, you guys have to understand, I am risk averse by nature. Okay. If I was okay doing this and ready to jump in that path, I'm telling you, if you guys have any risk taking in you at all, you'll be all right. You might not be as fearful as me jumping off that cliff.
Yeah, because one of the things that I see a lot of people say, like, well, I'm very risk averse. And I'm like, and you want to start a business? No.
Yeah. Maybe look at acquiring one.
Maybe look at buying one instead, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Because
that's the beauty of it.
That's also another question that people tend to ask me, you know, in these. It's like, well, why not just start yours? And I was like, like, just like you said, you know, when you buy a business, you can already see how it's performing, how the location is doing. Like, you bought 3 of the locations, but if you had chosen to buy maybe 2 as against 1, that could have been a possibility, right? Where you're saying, okay, well, I see you have 3, but these 2 are the ones that I actually want because this other one is not doing as well. But you have that historical data to actually guide you on that. And then, of course,
No, I was going to say, it's like, for some reason, it pops in my brain. It's like the same reason most people would probably want to test drive a car before they buy it, right? Like, you kind of want to know what you're getting into before you jump in and take the keys, right? And when you start your own business, you have no idea. You know, it may be a startup whereby the idea has never been done and you don't know if there's a market for it, or it's something that's tried and true, but you really don't have the experience behind it to make it operational, right? So a lot of people actually go into franchising when they first do a business. I'm not saying I recommend that, because there's a lot to that, but I think a lot of people do that. Yeah, a lot of people do that because there's a playbook already. But I think the reason acquisitions makes way more sense is, one, you could do whatever you want with it. Where a franchise, you're held to their guidelines, their standards. This is the way we do things. And also there's less upward trajectory, right? Somebody still has their hand in your pot of money, right? And you're kind of capped that way. So I'm not saying one way or another what you do, but I think that is the beautiful balance between starting a business versus acquiring one versus a franchise. In my opinion, personally, every time I would acquire a business, because you have the playbook, but you can do whatever you want. You have the autonomy. You have all the historical sales. You know it works. It's tried and true. Keep the train on the tracks and or improve it, and you'll be all right for the most part, as long as you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, right? Like, I can't guarantee anybody anything, but it's a pretty good safety net in comparison to the other options.
Yep. Said it very well. Very nice. Okay, guys, if you have a question that you would like to ask Chelsea while we have her live, you can go ahead and put it in the chat. because we have her live today, and I'm really excited that she was able to come on live. So go ahead and just type your question in the chat so that I can ask it out loud. So now you've owned this this is what, year 3 now?
Yes. Yeah, we've owned it for 3 years. Just over 3 years. Yep.
Amazing.
I
Amazing.
don't know how that's possible, but it's true.
That's so cool.
It's
Time
crazy.
flies. Time flies when you're having fun, right? They say.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so Sydney is asking, all right, these are I'm loving the questions that I'm seeing, because these are things that we'll be touching on even as we move along tomorrow with Mike coming on, and let's see who else is coming on. Yeah, what's his name? Philip as well. Okay, so the first question here is, where do you get operations education? How do you learn to operate the business that you buy? Let's kind of make it a little more generic.
Yeah. Honestly, through the transition is really where I got my operational understanding and experience, at least for coffee shops, right? Like I said, I did have some background in it, but I had no idea how coffee shops operated, right? So through that transition, the prior owner basically we started going over things kind of daily, especially in that first transition period, where he would just teach me things, and so I learned just through osmosis, through being with him hands-on. Hey, this is how we do things, this is why. And then I'm asking questions, he's answering those. That's why I say it's really critical, in my opinion, if you don't have that, but even if you do, if it's an industry you don't know, that seller is willing to stay on for a set period of time. Highly, highly, highly recommend that, because that's where you're going to get your biggest learning from.
Yeah. No, that's definitely a great point that you just made there, that it's really from the seller. And I think a nice correlate to that is one that I find a lot in our we love degrees circles. Somebody says, and I say this tongue in cheek because I have like background conversations about this stuff, and I literally had another conversation about an MBA, maybe like, or a formal degree, probably even this morning. So do you wish you had received a formal business education like an MBA before doing this?
That is a funny question that you asked me that, and it's a good question. So I have a little story for you, of course, because my life always has a story, right? So when I was in corporate America, there was a girl who was like, we decided that we were going to push each other like to next levels. Like we would check in with each other, meet, and all these things, and we were going to actually go get our MBA together, right? So we went and we started checking out colleges and all of these awesome things, and we were kind of at the point where like we're going to pick one. And I said to her, I don't know if I want to get my MBA or if I want to just go own a business and do it, and just through a course of conversations back and forth and having somebody to like bounce that off of, I was like, to be honest with you, I could have gone that route. I didn't. Spoiler alert. I just decided to start talking to entrepreneurs and dive right in and own a business, because I have friends who went through their MBA programs, and it's not to say it didn't teach them something, because it did. But for me, at that point in my life and my career, I knew I wanted to own a business. And I knew that there was supportive people out there that could guide me and teach me how to do it better than any MBA program probably could. And so for me, I just decided to not do the MBA. She decided to do the MBA. She was like, Chelsea, you're ready. Like, you just go do this thing, girl. Like, I'm not going to own a business ever. I'm going to stay the corporate route. I need this to continue to move up in corporate America. You don't. Like, if you want to own a business, you're ready. You could do this. And so that's what I did. And yeah, it was a big decision, because like I said, I mean, at that point in my life, I knew I wanted to further my career. I didn't know if I needed an MBA. I didn't feel like I did, because, if you're willing to learn and put yourself out there, you can make it happen. That's all I can tell you. But yeah, I went through that same process of, do I get an MBA? Do I not? Do I just go buy a business? And some of my friends that have gone have said, I don't regret doing it, but at the same time, I'm paying this loan back, and I'm like, ugh, Was it really worth it or not? It's personal to every single individual. I will say I'm not going to deter anyone here from going to get their MBA. If that's the route, go for it. Absolutely. For me, I chose to just jump right in and do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm actually glad that you put it that way, because there is some merit to having an MBA, but do you need it to buy a business? No.
No.
Like yeah.
No. If you would like that to feel a little bit more sound in your business acumen, that's understandable. Plus, I will say, one of the best things I think that a lot of people have talked about in getting their MBA is the network that they form.
Yes.
The network. Now, the education is good, but there's a lot of education online that if you really wanted to get it, most of it you probably could get out there. But the network that they met was pretty great. So
yeah,
it just really depends on what your path is and what you feel comfortable with. But for me, that's what it was.
Yep. That's great. Okay, so Angela said, how do you verify your previous business owner's debt with their business? You could probably touch on the due diligence process.
Yeah. I mean, realistically speaking, there is a process that they can go through on the back end to see if they have debt, like legally, right? Through lawyers and things like that. Because you can only take somebody's word so far, right? So there is processes on the back end that, you get with a lawyer, they can actually check on some of that stuff. But obviously, to some degree, you are at their discretion, right? Like you are, having to do your due diligence, and that's important. But obviously, it's important that you trust the seller as well, that there aren't all these skeletons in the closet, right? But there are processes that you go through in order to check that and do your best to make sure that there isn't anything out there.
Yep. So Elisha, hey Elisha, how are you? Did you inherit the staff already working at the coffee shop, or did you have to hire a whole new staff? Is it better to start with new staff versus inherit the old?
So we inherited the staff.
Yeah.
The staff was fantastic, but at the end of the day, obviously, you're going to have people who maybe fit the culture you're trying to build and maybe some that don't, right? And you have to kind of weed through that initially, and that's okay. I personally would rather start with a staff that's already on board, unless they are extremely toxic, like all of them. I wouldn't necessarily say day one, go in there and, tell everybody they're done, right? But you can start to kind of weed people out and bring new people in, either with the skill set that you want, or the mindset, or the work ethic, or whatever the problem may be, if you do have some problem children. But usually what I have found through running organizations and through operations and all of that is, when you get usually one or two bad apples out, it's amazing how everybody else starts to kind of fall into what it was that you were envisioning and what it is that you're seeking for your business. So it's usually only a couple of people, maybe one, maybe two, maybe three. It depends on the size of the organization, that's really driving bad culture and behavior.
Yeah, well, that's great. That's great. So I'm seeing there's a question here about outside of the 3 big business for sale sites, what are some hidden gem sites? Now, you found this business in your personal network. Like you found this business locally.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, locally.
Yeah.
Yep. It was my favorite coffee shop. But yeah, as far as there's tons of ways to find businesses, to be honest. Buy Biz Sell is a website. There's multiple websites out there that actually list them for sale, but those are through brokers typically. So there's a little bit, sometimes it's actually a blessing to be able to just go right to the owner and do negotiations, because just like when you buy a house, there's a real estate agent that you have to work through, right? And there's different barriers there at times. So not to say you can't work with a broker. Some brokers are great. Some brokers, I have heard, are a little bit of a barrier, like I said. So, if there's a specific company that you're like, man, I love this company, just go have a conversation with them. That I'm living proof that you don't know what could happen. But as far as just going out there to look around, yeah, there's websites out there. Like I said, Buy Biz Sell is probably one of the bigger ones.
Biz Buy Sell. Yep.
Biz Buy Sell. Thank you.
That's great. No, thank you so much. Any other questions, guys, to Chelsea? Chelsea's here. If you have any other questions, post them Now, okay, so talking about there was a question here that made me think about our session tomorrow with Mike. So Chelsea mentioned that Mike helped her. So Michael Byers is going to be our speaker tomorrow. So if you're here today, do not miss tomorrow. Usually when I chat with Mike, we usually go over like the 5 big criteria that he uses when he's screening businesses to determine if or not he's going to go ahead with it. Mike has been buying businesses for over 20 years. He's done over 50 deals. Current portfolio is somewhere around 145 million annually. And he's helped a lot of people so far, and loves to come chat with us here in Savvy Docs about basically buying businesses. So if you're here tonight, don't miss tomorrow, because you probably have double the number of people here. Definitely. Okay, so I'm kind of talking and stalling for any other questions that are here. But yeah, Chelsea, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for always sharing your amazing story. It still inspires me. It's still, oh, you know what? We haven't, yeah. Because you also had the roastery and all those other pieces too with the business, right? How have those gone? How has that part gone with the other accessory parts of the business? But before we,
yeah, I mean, I think it's gone great. It's a very scalable part of the business, because when you wholesale out and ship out, it's significantly easier than adding locations, right?
yeah,
So it is nice to have different levers to pull, in the business. But it's been great. And I think really it's whatever scale we want it to grow to is what the potential is there.
amazing, amazing. Again, thank you so much for hanging out with us today.
Yeah.
We appreciate you guys. Can you type your appreciation in the chat? Drop a couple of emojis. Tell Chelsea thank you for always sort of showing up and supporting our activities here in our community. Type something in the chat. Thank you so much, Chelsea. Appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, really, I come here, share my time, one, because she is amazing. Like you guys know, she's just awesome. She's just a pure soul and a good person. And I love to support her. But also, if like inspiring her, if I can inspire any single one of you to do this, it's worth it for my time to come here and be here to just share my story. And if you guys have questions, feel free to reach out. She can get in touch with me. Or otherwise you can find me on Facebook, TTC Crew. But really, I'm just here to, yeah, I don't have a normal name on Facebook because that's a whole nother story. But really, honestly, that's why I come here, is just to try to inspire your hearts and your minds and possibility of what is really possible, right, for you guys to do in this lifetime. And to be honest with you, like they say, you underestimate what you can do in a year, right? And think about what you can do in 10 years, right? So if you were to get started, you can do a ton. And if it's something that you're passionate about, you're going to make it work 9 times out of 10, right? So follow your heart, follow your passions. Don't be scared to jump off the cliff. I didn't die.
I didn't die. Yes, love it. Signboard. I didn't die.
All right. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Hey guys, all right. So was that amazing or what? That's just our first speaker for the night. That is just our first speaker for the night. For each of these sessions, we'll be going for about 90 minutes. So we still have enough time for me to share with you one more speaker. Let me see if I can pull it up here, and let me just get this open. 28 minutes. Let's see, 28 minutes. Oh, I don't know. Okay. So, oh no, that's not the person. That's the wrong person. Okay, hold on. Oh no, I cannot do that right now. Okay, so for this second speaker, what we're gonna do is that after we're done with the session tonight, we're gonna send out we'll send out an email that has this bonus session, okay? I love to over deliver, okay? You guys asked, I showed you just 3 speakers when we started this, or when we were marketing this, but we have more. So I'm actually gonna have my folks send this one out in the replay, in the recordings, because Dr. Natasha Beauvais is she's a concierge medicine doctor who began her practice not by starting from scratch, but by acquiring a practice. You know what, actually, I'm just gonna do it. Hold on. Let's just do it. Where is it? Okay. So she, hold on, let's find it. All right. Hey there, Acquire Your Freedom. I am so excited because I have with me today Dr. Natasha Beauvais, who is an amazing family medicine physician, who just an amazing human just to know, okay? But I'm going to let her introduce herself for a moment, okay? We actually first met in one of our masterminds where we're learning about acquisitions, but she's actually done some pretty significant and extensive work running a concierge medicine practice, okay? So when we're talking about freedom, I'm not even playing here, okay? Dr. Natasha Beauvais has lived this life and will be sharing with us the gems about how she acquired her practice many years ago and how you too could possibly do the same. So welcome, Dr. Natasha.
Thanks, Chigozie. It's super fun to be here.
I'm really glad that we could make this happen. Now, can you just like, I've done like a brief introduction out there, but would you mind just like telling the people, who you are, what you do, and then we can take it from there?
Sure, yeah. I'm Natasha Beauvais. As Chigozie said, I have 4 kids. I have a medical practice. I have a concierge medical practice that has been in existence for 20 years, kind of on the long side for concierge medicine. I took over half of the practice 10 years ago when my boss retired and asked me to take over his practice. And he kind of twisted my arm because I didn't really want to do it at the time. But I'm thrilled that he kept twisting my arm. It was a really, really very life-giving decision 10 years ago. And then 2 years ago, I was able to buy out my other partner, who is 20 years my senior, and we just had different goals for what we wanted to do with the practice and in our lives at the moment. So as of 2 years ago, I bought the whole practice. I'd love to tell the story of just how I learned how to even do that, because I took the class with the same guy where we met in a business acquisition class. And then shortly after buying my practice in 2022, we bought a very small practice of a retiring concierge doctor right 5 miles down the road from us. And we opened another location in Washington, D.C., where our main location is in Arlington, Virginia.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm pretty sure I have heard that story before, but somehow I forgot you acquired the other one. So this is about to get really interesting. Okay, so let's kind of rewind a little bit. When you joined your current practice, were you just a straight up employee?
Yeah. So when I first joined my current practice, I was a traditional medicine physician. The 3 longstanding doctors that had been practicing family medicine for a long time were moving the practice into concierge medicine 20 years ago. And they kept open another arm of the practice to have a traditional practice alongside a concierge practice. Mm-hmm. So we ran 2 different practice models simultaneously for probably 7 or 10 years. Mm-hmm. And then when my boss retired, we converted the whole thing to concierge medicine.
Okay, so for those who are listening here, just to make sure we're carrying the entire audience, for those who are listening and like, okay, I know medicine, but what in the world is concierge medicine? Would you mind just like breaking it down to like 5th grade level? What is?
Yeah. I mean, concierge medicine is simple. It is medicine with more time. Patients pay an annual fee in order to have a doctor that is less overloaded. And then the doctor has more time and really can pay attention in ways that all doctors want to pay attention.
So basically, it's like how we thought medicine was
until we went to med school. Yeah. It is. Yeah, it's very simple.
Nice. Okay, so you joined the practice. Initially, there were 2 models, and then eventually your boss was retiring. So just give us a window, like a fly on the wall type view of what that conversation was like between you and your boss when he was trying to retire and basically offering you this.
Yeah. I mean, at first it was quite uncomfortable to me because I really did not want to put medicine between me and the patient. Money between me and the patient. I'd come from I had come from public health at first, then into this private practice, and I already felt like that was a big leap to move out of the public health realm. And so I felt embarrassed about asking for a fee. So I said no, actually, at first. And he took me out to dinner, I think 3 times that year, and eventually kind of wore me down and said, look, you don't know what you're missing. Like, you don't know what you're saying no to. And by the way, if you do say no, I have to go find somebody else. And I really liked my job. Like, I was already working in a good place. I liked the people. I felt like it was a healthy work environment. And I didn't really want to trade that for the unknown of what might or might not be a healthy work environment. So I decided to agree and just tried it. Then as soon as I did the transition and I had like my first week of patients and I had a half an hour for every patient, I tend to spend at least an hour with the physical, but the patient's here for like 90 minutes to 2 hours. And I was floored by the quality. Like, you can do a lot when you have that much time with a person. And it just really blew my mind. And I thought that this is amazing quality medicine. Like, it's almost unbelievable. Like, I remember just feeling shocked. Like, oh, there's so much we can do when we have the time to do it.
Now, you said something there. You said you didn't want money to get between you and the patient. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I know that there are many people who are currently in medicine, who currently are practicing as employed doctors, who probably have the same sentiment that, you know what, if I decide to own my practice, then there'll be a conflict of interest to some extent, right? And as a result, I will be name the word, I'll be a worse doctor, I'll be a money hungry doctor, I'll be name all the things that we have in our heads. But how are you able to overcome that? I have my thoughts for sure, but I'm going to let you share how you were able to overcome that like underlying mindset or thought.
I mean, it took work. I was embarrassed. I remember going to like neighborhood holiday parties and telling people that I worked in a doctor's office. I didn't even want to tell them I was a doctor. And I would tell them, and then eventually I was fine, I'll tell you I'm a doctor, but I did not say concierge doctor, and actually went to one of my mentors at the time and I said, I'm just really uncomfortable telling people I'm a concierge doctor. And he said, I don't know exactly what he said, but he was like, listen, you should really just try to like look people straight in the eyes and say, I'm a concierge medicine doctor, because actually I believe in it. Like, I really believe that it is working. It's providing something amazing. It's really, really, it's providing medicine the way we want to be treated, the way we want to be seen and listened to and helped. So it took a lot of practice over, I'm not sure. Oh, sorry, my dog is making noise here. I have my dog in the office today. That's another point. So, I really had to like intentionally change that language in my own mind, and just keep remembering every time, like, actually, I feel so good about the quality of medicine that feels comfortable. And now I tell people that's the first word that comes out. I'm a concierge medicine doctor. I'm also a concierge medicine coach. And I tell the other doctors as well, I can help you build your practices this way. And it's become more commonplace, at least in the East Coast. It's certainly not, it's not at all uncommon. I would say it's more and more normal. And people don't look at me sideways anymore. Like people really understand what it is already. And it's more just they're deciding whether they want to participate in that type of medicine or not.
I love it. I'm really keeping myself from it.
Already have some systems and processes in place because I think it could be more possible, more possible to kind of hit the ground running with something that's already working pretty well. I think the most important thing that we can do in healthcare right now is to try to change the culture of working in healthcare. So wherever we are, we have an opportunity to make that workplace a dramatically more healing and healthy workplace. And so I think if I were interviewing the staff at a new location that I was considering looking at, we would really want to feel like there was already a cultural alignment and that there was a sense of well-being, and instead of a sense of craziness or exhaustion or feeling depleted or just not great trust. I think those would be the most important things.
Okay, well, that's good. Yeah, I was talking with someone, was it yesterday, and I asked him a similar question, but for like thinking about partnerships and like other businesses, and he said a similar thing. Actually, he was like, more than everything else, it's actually, do I want to work with the people? It was like, do I even want to work with the people in the first place?
Especially, I think if you already have an existing practice, you can really dilute your own culture if you merge with a culture that's really different from your own. That's and culture for us is something we're really trying to cultivate. So it's important to figure out how to make sure that that's not going to be a shock to the most important thing that you are trying to do.
Yeah. Now, for somebody who is thinking of getting into acquiring businesses, practices, acquiring a practice that they will ultimately practice medicine in, what would you tell them to, in addition to the cultural alignment, what should they be looking for from a more like operational standpoint?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a soft skills call. I think it's really important to actually, when you first go into buying a medical practice, you don't talk to the staff because the staff sometimes doesn't know that it's for sale.
Right.
So you talk to whoever's selling the practice, and if it gets to the point where it looks like things are moving forward, there has to be a time which you could at least stage some kind of an observation. Maybe they don't know who you are, but at least you could participate in the daily work and get a feel of like, what's it feel like to be at the nursing station, and what's it feel like to be at the front desk, and how is, even shadow the doctor for a while as another physician, to really understand kind of what's the feel, what's the vibe of just being in there. And I think it's not it doesn't take a long time sometimes to come into a place and you can just feel like, oh, I feel a sense of comfort. Or I a little bit have a red flag. As a matter of fact, we had a doctor who joined our practice many years ago, and he didn't really like medicine anymore. And I thought, I can kind of tell that he doesn't really like medicine anymore, but in my new business learning brain, I felt like this is the perfect person to join our practice. He has a single person practice. He wants to bring it into a group. He wants to move into concierge medicine. It was like otherwise a perfect arrangement that felt like complementary needs. But after a while, he really just was not excited and happy in medicine, and he was not engaged fully in the work. And so that ultimately didn't work out. And I think my recognition all along was that I had that sense that this person didn't love medicine anymore and didn't really want to be there. And I allowed myself to look past that because of the other things that felt like they were a good fit. And then it turned out to not be the right person. And so like that really helped me get much more mature about waiting for the right people.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's really great. Now, you mentioned earlier that you've helped, or that you help people get into concierge medicine, you know, people who are thinking about maybe making a change, making a shift from traditional medical practice into more of the concierge thing. Would you mind just talking a little more about that? Like, who really should be thinking about that? Because this person that you just described right now sounds like maybe half the people that you talk with, but there are some that are redeemable, right? So who really should be thinking about, you know, maybe concierge, maybe an option, and like what kinds of questions should they be answering or asking themselves to know what, you know what, maybe I should take a leap into concierge medicine?
Oh, well, we've been advising people, kind of just curbside advice, for a long time. I mean, at least 10 years. And so the questions people come with are, how do I get out of my contract? Like, how long do I have to wait before I would really be able to have a salary if I'm going to try to go hang out my own shingle and figure this out? Should I take insurance? How do you deal with the Medicare laws that have particular language associated with them? We do take insurance. We do take Medicare. How would I hire somebody? I want to work for an existing concierge practice and I'd like some help getting a good contract. Like, how do I ask the right questions because I want to join this other group? People call because they want to buy another concierge practice. Somebody's retiring, exactly the same situation that we had. So what do I do? Like, they don't have necessarily the business training. Or like the doctor I mentioned who had a really slow growth. Like, how do I find new patients? I have a couple of people right now who are just in a early stage concierge practice in different parts of the country, and they have different approaches they want to take towards marketing and finding the people that are going to be the best fit for them. So anybody who still likes medicine, it would be a great person to talk to. I mean, people in cardiology are concierge physicians, people in endocrinology, people in rheumatology. What I know best is primary care, so that's what I advise about. But it's really possible to do it in many creative ways.
Yeah, but I mean, I'll imagine that the business skills or the setup operational skills are probably similar across specialties. It's just a matter of what's actually happening in the exam room, right? Across specialties, do you think?
I think some of the skills are completely the same. I think, how are you going to train employees? How are you going to recruit employees? I think how are you going to find patients is different, because in concierge medicine, it's not just the people that call because you take their insurance. People call because they're looking for something different than what they've had in traditional medicine. So you do yourself a service to make yourself available and findable. Whereas I think in many primary care practices, we're just so flooded with patients, we don't have to worry about, like, will the patients come in?
Yeah.
That's not hard. So that's what's different. I would also say that what feels totally amazing to me has evolved in the last 10 years. Like, when I first started concierge medicine, I was just floored about the quality of the medicine. And even today, I mean, someone in our office just diagnosed something during a routine physical that was life-saving for that person, a young person. And I just feel like so grateful that could actually have happened. I mean, it's like so rare. But I think the other kind of sort of secret sauce, or maybe the more nuanced value that I'm becoming sensitive to, having done it for 10 years and just being more mature and growing myself, is that part about the quality of the work environment. And I think realizing that we actually can have a lot of autonomy about how we take care of ourselves in a medical practice is shocking. That we can.
Good. Now, is anyone here thinking about launching either a concierge medical practice or a primary or like their own practice, medical practice, to be very specific? Anybody? Type a yes in the chat. Type a 1 in the chat. Did you find that helpful? Did you find hearing Dr. Beauvais talk about how she acquired a practice helpful, meaningful? Type a 2 in the chat if you thought it was eye-opening or at least helpful enough. There you go. Okay, because when I put these together, I'm bringing you both people who are in medicine and people who are not, but I always like to make sure that I'm relating it back to your actual experience. So I always ask for that feedback so that we know what to bring back next time, who to bring back next time. I'm glad to hear that you enjoy that. Okay, so I put in the chat, okay? So I wasn't able to get Dr. Natasha live, but I put in the chat right here the link to her stuff, okay? Dr. Natasha actually was a client of mine last year. We worked on her setting up her community and setting up her, her platform together. I do that on a very rare occasion, but she now basically runs this as a thing where she helps people get started with that. But as you can see, her own journey didn't start with starting her own practice, okay? You can gain, years, you can save yourself years and years of other people's experience by simply buying one that already exists. Okay, so we still have a couple of minutes, but I wanted to make sure that I took the time to do a little housekeeping here. Who found Chelsea's session amazing? Okay, type a 3 in the chat if you thought Chelsea was amazing. I don't even know if she's still here or not, but if you found her session amazing, type a 3 in the chat. All right, now she mentioned, beautiful. She mentioned in there that Michael Byers was actually the one that helped her with that first deal. So who best to actually have on day 2 than Michael Byers himself? I actually spoke with him this evening about his session tomorrow, and we are both looking forward to it. Mike is an amazing person. I've worked with him now for, just even on all of these sessions for a little while now, and he's a very giving person. Now, I do understand that there are some of you on here right now who may or may not, you really should be here tomorrow, but at the risk, okay, of not letting anybody miss out on this, I have 2 resources to provide to you tonight, okay? One of them is a free resource, actually, which we will share by email, which is the workbook. It is the workbook for this event, okay? The workbook for this event is something that I'm gonna ask you to take a moment after this session is done to basically reflect on. You're gonna see page 1, you're gonna see before, after. I just want you to just sit for 3-4 minutes and just kind of think through the prompt questions, okay? Because I really want you to leave these sessions with tangible, personal takeaways, all right? Now, that's resource number 1, just like a reflective tool. It's the workbook. I'll have my team send it out once we're actually done with this. But the second thing is I'm going to tell you a little bit about an event we have coming up. Who would like to hear about an in-person bootcamp that we have coming up? Type 4 in the chat, 4 in the chat. If you'd like to hear about the in-person workshop that we have coming up, bootcamp style, okay, perfect. Now, September 12th through the 14th, okay? Right here in Syracuse, New York, that's where I am, all right? We are gonna be having an in-person boot camp where in one weekend, we'll be taking you through how to find, how to fund, how to scale, and how to possibly even exit cash flowing businesses, all right? Now, it's a weekend, it's a full, when I say boot camp, I mean full boot camp, okay? For a lot of people, now when we host these events, these like pre-events or whatever, my goal, first of all, is to just open your minds. Will anybody acknowledge that your mind was at least open to possibility? Who knew before this that you could buy a business and have the seller work in it? Okay. If you're saying not me, type a 5 in the chat, right? Who knew that you could buy a business and have the seller basically be the bank, right? So my purpose during these sessions is just to sort of like, just take all the limits, take all the limits off, take the limits off, right? And then on September 12th through the 5th, through the 14th, we're going to be sitting down and we're going to be going deep dive, like, how are we finding these businesses? How are we funding them? Now, we'll talk about those things here in the conversations as I talk with people, but now imagine in like a didactic environment where like you, the speakers, the teachers, or whatever, are going in depth into these intricate things where we're talking about the nuances, where we're talking about the things, like in a whole 3-day weekend, because we're all busy, right? Getting this information from very skilled experts about this. If you would like that information, type a 7 in the chat, okay? Now, what is it gonna be? 3-day weekend, we'll be talking about this. It's gonna be both in person as well as live stream. So I'm specific about the wording here because it is live stream. You have to be present to be able to watch it remotely. So that option is there if you absolutely can't make it. But you're going to be, so Michael Byers, who's going to be here tomorrow, by the way, is going to be the primary person teaching. I'll be bringing the medical, sauce as well as a consultant who will be teaching about the medical acquisition side. So and whether you want to buy a non-medical business or a medical business, we have you covered. You learn how to find businesses, how to fund them, how to use creative financing. Mike usually teaches about 10 different ways, to finance a business. What else do we even do there? Okay, how to scale them. I remember in the conversation we had last year, I forget, I think it was during Catalyst actually. Mike said something like, "Oh yeah, it's not the $1 million that you'll make every year that's where the money is." And I'm like, "Wait, what did you say? It's not that one? What is it?" He's like, "Yeah, that it's what you actually make on the sale." So it teaches about just like how to package the business that you buy to potentially sell it. All that happens over there. Now, if you would like kind of more details about this, I am going to put a link in the chat, or Millie, you can post the link in the chat for those who want to learn more about this. Now, remember, when you buy one of these, I showed you earlier, and I can actually show you again. Let's actually play this game every day this week. Let's play the game every day this week. Somebody type a city in the chat, a city or state in the chat, and I will type a state in the chat. Okay, type a state that you want me to look for a business that is live on there. Thank you, Ohio. That was the first one. We'll do Ohio tonight. We'll probably do more tomorrow. Okay, so I like to do these because I don't want anybody to think that I had to hunt for the business. All right, let's see real quick. So Millie, post that link again since I had people posting here real quick. I'm just gonna post here, biz by sell. All right, so let's share the screen actually. Let's share the screen. Where's the screen here? So we said Ohio. So let's see what's for sale in Ohio. All right, so without filtering, I literally just typed in Ohio. All right. Let's see if I can find something that cash flows more than. All right, well, not going too far. I wouldn't do this one, but that's the cash flow 376. That one is they're asking too much right there. Nope, not that one. Nope, not that one. Okay, this one is close. Yeah, look at this one right here. Established marketing firm with remote flexibility, and it's semi-absentee, which means that the owner doesn't have to be exactly where the business is. So right there, without even screening the page, I'm already seeing a possible prospect. They're asking 1.6 million, and the cash flow is 400,000. Now, this is probably more than I want to pay for this business, but look at that, $400,000. Imagine if you could make $400,000 from a business that you buy, particularly when you learn that you can buy this for 10% down with an SBA loan. If that was the first time you knew you could buy a business with 10% down, please type an 8 in the chat. I love it when I do these things. All right, let's see if we can find one more here. This one they're asking 5x. I probably wouldn't look at that too much. Let's just scroll and scroll. I'm probably going down too far. All right, let's even stop right here. Somebody mentioned med spa. Who was the person that mentioned med spa in the chat earlier? Look at this one right here. They're asking only $675. $675 is about what you're going to buy a simple house for in many places right now. Like a $675 will buy you a single family home right in my area right here. Look at how much cash flow this can spit out, $200,000. So to buy this, if you put down 10%, that means with $67,000, you could possibly cash flow $200,000. And I have not put any filters on this page. This is just straight off the internet. Straight off the internet. So yeah, I've asked Millie to put, oh yeah, Ola, that was you. There you go. So yeah, put the link, take the link there, okay? If you would like to join us for the boot camp, again, I'll talk more about the things that you would get maybe tomorrow or the day after, okay? But for tonight, I didn't want anybody who was here tonight to miss this, because for some of you, this is life-changing stuff. This is money-changing stuff. I don't want anybody who was present tonight to miss out on this because they missed tomorrow or anything. We'll get more in depth into all the bonuses and how you can bring your kid and how you can add a spouse, for half the price and all of that. But for right now, that's the link right there. Millie, post it one more time. Okay. Now, the last thing that we're going to do, who would like to give me the two takeaways that you had? Okay. Who would like to either type in the chat your biggest takeaways from tonight? Because we still have 2 more nights. Okay. We're basically ramping things up. We had Chelsea this evening, just kind of give you a picture of what's possible. And then I had Dr. Natasha's, interview, just to kind of show you what's possible also in the medical space. And then tomorrow we bring on Michael Byers with a possible other guy that just bought a company not too long ago. There you go. So Jennifer says seller financing deals without a broker are possible. There you go. Owning a business is not as impossible as I thought. Will either one of you be willing to come on live with me and we can chat, and you can just tell me what your overall thought was? Obviously I have it recorded, right? So whenever I record something, I can use it. When I talk about it, because as you can imagine, I'm seeing all this stuff on the back end. I want more people to get to know this. So if you wouldn't mind coming on live, just raise your hand and I will get you on live and we'll just chat for 2 minutes and then we'll hop off. Let's see, who's that? Okay, so Ola says buying a business over starting a business. Yes, that's great. Okay, Sydney says, learning operations from hanging out with the selling owner also is a way to get a vibe or feel of the business culture. Exactly. These are so good. All right, so tomorrow evening, we are going to be here live, 7 p.m. Eastern. Mark your calendar. Check your email tonight to get the workbook and just review. Look at the kind of the pre-event thoughts. Kind of get your pen and paper and your mind just thinking. Because like I said, I want you to walk away from these sessions with personal, tangible, actionable ideas that we could possibly maybe help you get through even at a Catalyst Bootcamp in September. All right, guys. I will see you all tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Take care, guys. 7 p.m. Eastern. My pleasure.